You open your freezer, you grab dinner, you heat it up, you eat it. You think you're saving time. You think you're making a reasonable choice. You think it's just food. You're wrong. What you just put in your body isn't convenience. It's a calculated risk, and the company's selling it to you. They're counting on you not reading the fine print. They're counting on you being too tired, too busy, too trusting to ask questions. Ready meals, frozen dinners, heat and eat solutions. The industry calls them convenient. I call them contaminated. And before you dismiss this as fear-mongering, let me be clear, I'm about to show you lab reports, recall notices, banned ingredients, and lawsuits that prove these products are doing damage you can't see yet. Cancer-linked preservatives, neurological disruptors, sodium levels that could stop your heart, plasticizers leaching into your food, recalls buried on page 7 of a corporate website, ingredients banned in 32 countries but perfectly legal in your grocery store. This isn't theory. This isn't opinion. This is documented, researched, and deliberately hidden from you. What I'm about to show you will change how you shop forever. Here's what you're getting today. I'm going to name 7 specific brands, not categories, not vague warnings, actual products sitting in freezers across this country right now. I'm going to tell you exactly what's in them, exactly what it does to your body, and exactly why they're still on shelves despite the evidence. Then I'm giving you 2 alternatives. 2 brands that prove this industry could do better if they wanted to. They just don't want to. And I need you to do something right now. Before we go any further, drop a comment with the brand of ready meal currently in your kitchen. Just the name. I want to see how many of you are eating what I'm about to expose. Don't lie to yourself. If it's there, admit it. We'll deal with it together. Let's start with the one that breaks my heart the most. Stouffer's. You grew up with this brand. Your mom heated up their lasagna on weeknights when she worked late. You remember the orange packaging, the steam rising from the tray, the smell of melted cheese filling the kitchen. It felt like home. It felt safe. It felt like someone cared enough to make real food and freeze it for you. That trust, they've been exploiting it for decades. In 2019, Stouffer's issued a voluntary recall for over 2 million pounds of ready meals due to potential glass and hard plastic contamination. 2 million pounds. That's not a small batch. That's not an isolated incident. That's industrial-scale negligence. And here's the part that should make you sick: they called it voluntary, like they had a choice, like protecting you is optional. But let's go deeper than recalls. Let's talk about what's intentionally in the food. Stouffer's Swedish meatballs contain tertiary butylhydroquinone. You know it as TBHQ. It's a petroleum-based preservative. The FDA allows up to 0.02% of the total oils in food. Stouffer's uses every bit of that allowance. TBHQ has been linked to vision disturbances, liver enlargement, neurotoxic effects, and convulsions in laboratory studies. The European Food Safety Authority limits it far more strictly than the US does. Some products containing it are outright banned in Japan. You're eating petroleum byproducts to keep a frozen meal shelf stable for months. Now think about the texture. That gelatinous sauce, the way it clings to the pasta even after microwaving, that's not richness. That's modified food starch, xanthan gum, and carrageenan working together to mimic real food. Carrageenan, by the way, is a known inflammatory agent. It's been shown to trigger gut inflammation, which leads to irritable bowel syndrome, and in chronic cases, contributes to inflammatory bowel disease. And the sodium. A single serving of Stouffer's Fettuccine Alfredo contains 180 milligrams of sodium. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 500 milligrams per day for most adults. You're eating 79% of your daily limit in one meal. If you have high blood pressure, if you're over 50, if you're on diuretics or ACE inhibitors, you're playing with your cardiovascular system every time you heat this up. Children eat this. Seniors on fixed incomes eat this. People recovering from surgery eat this thinking it's easier than cooking. Stouffer's knows. They know the sodium content. They know the preservatives. They know the recalls. They keep the branding warm. They keep the nostalgia strong. They keep you buying. Is Stouffer's in your freezer right now? Let's move to the one that pretends to be healthy. Lean cuisine. The name itself is marketing genius. Lean cuisine. It sounds French. It sounds sophisticated. It sounds like you're making a smart choice for your body. The packaging shows fresh vegetables, vibrant colors, portion control. They market to women trying to lose weight, to people managing diabetes, to anyone who wants to believe frozen food can be virtuous. It's a lie wrapped in a low-calorie package. Lean Cuisine's chicken teriyaki contains caramel color, specifically Class IV caramel color, which is produced with ammonia. During production, this process creates 4-methylimidazole or 4-NEI. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies 4-MEI as a possible human carcinogen. California's Proposition 65 requires warnings for products containing more than 29 micrograms per day. Some lean cuisine products approach that threshold. They don't warn you. They just keep the sauce brown and appealing. But let's talk about what they remove to keep calories low. Fat. They remove fat. And to compensate for the flavor loss, they add sugar and sodium. Lean Cuisine's glazed chicken contains 17 grams of sugar in a single serving. That's more sugar than 2 Krispy Kreme donuts. You thought you were eating a diet meal? you're eating a dessert disguised as dinner. The chicken itself, it's mechanically separated poultry. That's the industry term for what happens when they force bones with attached meat through a sieve under high pressure. The result is a paste, a slurry. They reconstitute it into shapes that look like chicken pieces, add binders to hold it together, and cook it just enough to pass safety standards. You're not eating chicken. You're eating chicken, derived product. And here's where it gets personal. If you're diabetic, if you're watching your blood sugar, if you bought lean cuisine because you thought it was safe, you've been manipulated. That sugar spike hits your system fast. Your insulin responds. Your pancreas works overtime. You crash 2 hours later, reach for another snack, and the cycle continues. They market health. They deliver metabolic chaos. Lean cuisine made $300 million last year. How much of that came from people who trusted the name? Number 3, the one that markets authenticity. Amy's Kitchen. Organic, vegetarian, family, owned. The packaging tells you a story about Amy, about wholesome values, about food made with love. They charge premium prices. You pay them because you believe you're getting something better, something real. You're getting half-truths. In 2022, multiple former employees filed complaints with OSHA alleging unsafe working conditions, repetitive stress injuries, and pressure to work through pain. One lawsuit claimed workers were denied bathroom breaks during production shifts. When the people making your food are being harmed, what does that say about the company's actual values? But let's focus on what's in the food. Amy's black bean enchilada contains sodium acid pyrophosphate. It's a leavening agent, a preservative, and a color stabilizer. High doses have been associated with calcium and phosphorus imbalance, which affects bone density. If you're postmenopausal, if you have osteoporosis, if you're at risk for fractures, you're consuming something that disrupts your mineral balance. The organic label. It means the beans were grown without synthetic pesticides. It doesn't mean the final product is healthy. It doesn't mean the processing is gentle. It doesn't mean you should trust it. Amy's uses sunflower oil in nearly every product. Sunflower oil is high in omega-6 fatty acids. The modern American diet already has an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of about 21. It should be closer to 41. That imbalance drives systemic inflammation. Inflammation drives arthritis, cardiovascular disease, and autoimmune conditions. Every time you eat Amy's, you're feeding inflammation. And the sodium. Amy's cheese enchilada has 780 milligrams per serving. But here's the trick: they list the serving size as 1 enchilada. The package contains 2. Most people eat both. That's 560 milligrams of sodium. You thought you were eating clean. You're salting yourself into hypertension. The worst part, Amy's charges you extra for this. Their meals cost 40% more than conventional frozen dinners. You're paying a premium to be lied to with better branding. How many Amy's meals are in your freezer because you thought you were doing the right thing? Number 4 is the one your kids are eating. Kid cuisine. Remember the penguin, the bright colors, the compartmentalized trays that made dinner feel like a game. Parents buy these because kids will actually eat them. Because they're fast. Because after a 12-hour day, you just need something that works. Nestle knows this. They exploit it. Kid Cuisine's popcorn chicken contains TBHQ, BHT, and artificial colors including red 40 and yellow 5. Red 40 has been linked to hyperactivity in children. Multiple studies have shown that artificial food dyes can exacerbate ADHD symptoms, reduce attention span, and increase impulsive behavior. The European Union requires warning labels on foods containing these dyes. The United States does not. Your child's behavior problems might not be behavioral. They might be chemical. The chicken nuggets are made from mechanically separated chicken. The breading contains more calories than the meat. The mac and cheese is made with cheese powder that's 45% sodium by weight. A single Kid Cuisine meal contains over 700 milligrams of sodium. For a child weighing 60 pounds, that's nearly their entire daily recommended limit. You're teaching them that this is normal. That food comes in plastic compartments heated in microwaves. That vegetables are an orange sludge in the corner. That meals don't require preparation. Just 3 minutes and a hot tray. Childhood obesity rates have tripled since 1970. Type 2 diabetes, once called adult-onset diabetes, now affects children as young as 8. We're raising the first generation expected to have a shorter lifespan than their parents. Kid Cuisine costs $2.50. The medical costs of treating childhood obesity and related conditions, over $14 billion annually in the United States. Nestle made the calculation. Your child's health is worth less than their market share. Are you feeding this to your kids because you don't have time or because you don't know what it's really doing? Let's talk about the one that pretends to be gourmet. Marie Callender's. The name evokes homemade pies cooling on windowsills. Grandma's kitchen. Sunday dinners. The portions are generous. The packaging shows golden, crusted pot pies, creamy pasta, slow-cooked roasts. It's comfort food. It's supposed to feel indulgent. Its engineered disease chicken pot pie contains 1,040 calories in a single serving. It has 64 grams of fat, 15 grams of saturated fat, 520 milligrams of sodium. That's 66% of your daily sodium limit in one meal. But calories and sodium are just numbers. Let's talk about what's actually inside. The crust contains hydrogenated oils. That's trans fat. Even though the label says 0 grams, the FDA allows products with less than 0.5 grams per serving to be labeled as 0. You're still consuming it. Trans fats raise LDL cholesterol, lower HDL cholesterol, and increase your risk of heart attack and stroke by up to 23% according to studies published in the New England Journal of Medicine. The gravy contains modified corn starch, disodium phosphate, and autolyzed yeast extract. Autolyzed yeast extract is a hidden source of MSG. It provides that savory, meaty flavor without having to list monosodium glutamate on the label. For people sensitive to MSG, this causes headaches, flushing, chest tightness, and in severe cases, cardiac arrhythmia. They hide it, they rename it, they feed it to you anyway, and the chicken, it's water, retained poultry. That means they inject it with a solution of water, sodium phosphates, and salt to increase weight and moisture. You're paying for water disguised as meat. The FDA allows up to 12% retained water by weight. Marie Callender's uses every bit of that allowance. If you're over 60, if you have congestive heart failure, if you're on beta blockers, that sodium load hits your system like a hammer. Your kidneys struggle to filter it. Your blood pressure spikes. You retain fluid. Your heart works harder. Marie Callender's sold 47 million pot pies last year. How many heart attacks came in those boxes? Number 6 is the one that markets itself as a meal kit alternative. Healthy choice. The name is psychological warfare. Who wouldn't choose healthy? The branding is clean, modern, clinical. They use words like balanced and mindful and wholesome. They target people trying to improve their lives. People who want better but don't have the time or knowledge to cook from scratch. They're counting on your exhaustion. Healthy Choice's Keffi steamers contain propylene glycol. It's the same chemical used in antifreeze and airplane de-icing fluid. The FDA classifies it as generally recognized as safe, but studies show it can cause central nervous system depression in high doses. Workers exposed to propylene glycol vapor report headaches, dizziness, and respiratory irritation. You're microwaving it, it's steaming into your food. But let's look at the bigger picture. Healthy Choice's sweet sesame chicken contains 39 grams of carbohydrates and 21 grams of sugar. That's more sugar than a Snickers bar. The sauce is corn syrup, brown sugar, soy sauce, and sesame oil. There's no chicken in the sauce, just sugar with Asian-sounding flavors. The vegetables, they're minimally processed, sure, but they're swimming in that sugar sauce, absorbing it, delivering it to you with every bite that feels like you're making a healthy choice. And here's the cruelest part: Healthy Choice markets heavily to people with diabetes. Their commercials show smiling people checking blood sugar monitors with relief. The packaging shows carb counts and fiber content prominently. They want diabetics to trust them. Then they load the food with sugar and call it balance. If you're managing insulin resistance, if you're pre-diabetic, if you've been told to watch your sugar intake, Healthy Choice is sabotaging you with every meal. Your glucose spikes, your insulin follows, your cells become more resistant. The cycle worsens. They know. Every nutritionist they employ knows. Every food scientist who formulates these meals knows. They do it anyway because sugar is cheap and addiction is profitable. How much have you spent on Healthy Choice believing it was helping you? And finally, the one that targets busy professionals. Evil, hip packaging, modern branding, words like thoughtfully crafted and real ingredients. They market to millennials and Gen Z, people who grew up suspicious of big food and want something different, something authentic. Evil is owned by Pinnacle Foods, which is owned by Conagra, the same conglomerate that makes Banquet, Hunt's, and Slim Jim. The Thoughtful brand is a subsidiary of industrial food manufacturing. It's fake rebellion packaged for real money. Evil's truffle parmesan mac and cheese contains disodium inosinate and disodium guanylate. These are flavor enhancers that work synergistically with MSG to amplify taste. They're used to make cheap ingredients taste expensive. That truffle flavor? It's 2,4-dithiapentane, a synthetic compound that mimics truffle aroma. There's no actual truffle in the product. You're paying $5.99 for chemistry. The pasta is enriched wheat flour, which means they stripped away the nutrients during processing and added synthetic vitamins back in. The cheese sauce contains natamycin, an antifungal preservative. Natamycin is also used to treat yeast infections. You're eating antifungal medication to keep your mac and cheese from molding. And the sodium? 9-10 milligrams per serving. The entire package contains 1,820 milligrams. That's more sodium than 7 servings of potato chips. But Evil doesn't look like junk food. It looks progressive. It looks like the choice an informed person would make. That's the genius. They've weaponized your desire to be better. If you're under 40, if you shop at Whole Foods, if you think you've outsmarted the food industry by choosing brands that sound different, you've been marketed to more effectively than your parents ever were. Evil made $89 million last year. All of it from people who thought they were choosing something real. Are you one of them? Now let me be clear about something. I didn't show you these brands to leave you hopeless. I showed you because you deserve to know what you're actually consuming. And here's the truth: the food industry doesn't want you to understand better options exist. They've always existed. They're just not the ones spending millions on advertising. Let me give you 2 brands that prove this industry could operate differently. First, Territory Foods. They're a meal delivery service, yes, but they're also available in select grocery stores. Here's what makes them different: every meal is chef-prepared, never frozen, and delivered fresh. They use organic produce whenever possible. No preservatives, no artificial flavors, no synthetic colors. The ingredient lists are short, you can pronounce every word. Most importantly, they're transparent. Their website lists every supplier, every farm, every processing facility. They invite audits, they publish third-party lab results. When there's a problem, they announce it immediately and pull products without waiting for recalls. Territory Foods costs more, about $1.15 per meal, but you're paying for real food, real ingredients, and real accountability. The sodium content averages 400–500 milligrams per meal. The sugar is naturally occurring from vegetables and fruits, not added syrups. The fats come from olive oil, avocado, and grass-fed butter. Your body recognizes this food. Your cells can use it. There's no chemical burden, no inflammatory load, no hidden metabolic damage. Factor, another fresh meal service that's increasingly available in retail. Factor focuses on keto, paleo, and Mediterranean options. They never freeze. They use hormone-free proteins. Their vegetables are organic. The meals come in recyclable, BPA-free containers. Factor publishes nutritional information that includes glycemic load, inflammation markers, and micronutrient density. They're not just telling you calories and macros. They're telling you what this food actually does inside your body. A Factor meal costs around $11–13. The ingredients are simple grass-fed beef, organic broccoli, olive oil, garlic, herbs. That's it. No modified starches. No preservatives. No ingredient you need a chemistry degree to identify. These brands prove that the industry could do better. They show that convenient meals don't require petroleum-based preservatives and hidden sugars. They demonstrate that transparency is possible if companies choose it. The question is, why don't the big brands do this? Because it's more expensive. Because it reduces shelf life. Because it requires better sourcing. Because it cuts into profit margins. They could make safer food. They choose not to. That's not a failure of technology. That's a business decision. So here's what you do right now. Go to your freezer. Take out every ready meal you have. Look at the brand. If it's one of the 7 I just named, you have a decision to make. You can keep eating it, now knowing exactly what you're consuming. Or you can throw it out and replace it with something that doesn't require you to accept chemical contamination as the price of convenience. This isn't about perfection. This isn't about never eating processed food again. This is about informed choice. You can't make good decisions with bad information. Now you have the information. Check your pantry. Check your freezer. Read the labels. Look for the ingredients I mentioned: TBHQ, caramel color, propylene glycol, mechanically separated meat, hydrogenated oils, autolyzed yeast extract. If you see them, that product is doing damage. Find alternatives. Cook when you can. When you can't, choose companies that respect you enough to tell the truth about what they're selling. And here's the last thing I need you to understand: the food industry isn't going to change because they suddenly develop ethics. They're going to change when enough people stop buying their products. When the profit motive shifts. When hiding ingredients becomes more expensive than being honest. You have more power than you think. Every purchase is a vote. Every meal is a choice. Every time you pick up a frozen dinner, you're telling that company whether their formula works. Make them change the formula. You now know the truth. What you do next is on you.